Good day, everyone. I hope we are all doing very greatly wherever we are in the world. Once again, I'm Tomilola Daniel. I'm here today to share the ninth lesson in my story, the story of my life. But before I go ahead and talk about this topic, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that has subscribed, liked my videos, shared them, to those who have even commented and tried to share their own story too. I say a very big thank you. To those who are still hurting and brokenhearted, I want to assure you that help has come, light has come, and there is a brighter hope for tomorrow. No matter the damage the enemy has done, no matter the damage, the trauma you've gone through has cost you, I can authoritatively assure you that help has come and you will find healing. If God could heal me, then there is no one that God is not capable of healing. So as I walk through this journey, I want to encourage you once again to walk with me as I follow Christ on this journey of purpose. So today I'll be talking about perspective is everything. Yeah, perspective is everything. And what do I mean by perspective? Perspective in the sense that how do you perceive things? How are you seeing things? How are you interpreting things or situations, circumstances around you, behaviors and attitudes around you, information, how are you processing it? That is what I mean by perspective. And I'm going to be talking about the perspective from two different lenses. Yeah, I decide to use the word lenses. Now, I'm going to talk about my story, how perspective helped me. And I'm also going to talk about it through the lens of God, because the seeing things, seeing circumstance, processing situation, processing events through the lens of God goes a long way in how you react to situations and the outcome of that situation or the impact of that situation upon your life. So, looking at my story, now from my story, I discovered that it is important that you hear story or you see a story from two different or three different perspectives before you come to a conclusion. It may be more than two, it may be more than three, it may be more than four. But ensure that every perspective that is right, God's perspective, yeah, is the utmost. It supersedes every other perspective. But before we come to seeing things through the lens of God's perspective, I want to first, bring you through my journey and how I came to learn this lesson. So, being a child, that grew up for the most major part of my life with my mom, being raised by single mom, or yeah, single-handedly raised by my mom for the major part of her life and of my life. Yeah. I witnessed a lot of things. Yeah. Being she was a Christian, she's a Christian. Yeah. Yeah. She's a Christian. But leaving my dad while I was young, before we left my dad's place, before the separation happened. Yeah, before the separation happened, I witnessed a lot of domestic violence between my mom and my dad. And that domestic violence, yeah, affected me to a very large extent. You know, I was fearful. I was very fearful. I was edgy as a child. I tended so much towards my mom. I loved her because I saw the pain, I saw the violence, I saw the abuse as a child. I didn't process it well, but I knew what I was seeing. I didn't have the capacity to process what was going on at the time, but I knew what I was seeing, and I thought, yeah, at the time that what my mom was going through was too much. So the separation happened, and we had to be living with my mom alone, and she was struggling. She's a very, very strong woman. Yeah, a very strong woman, and a wonderful one at that, regardless of the situation. So growing up, going to the university, I saw my dad on very few occasions. I saw that at some point he would show up, at some point he would show up, at some point he would show up. And the picture that was painted to us was, oh, he didn't care for us. He cared about other children. He didn't love us. He wasn't paying us attention. And a whole lot of things that will come from a place of bitterness, a place of the union not going well. And I carried that in my head for a very long time. I carried that in my emotions for a very long time. If you've been opportune to see my previous video, you will notice that there was a place I said that one of the major reasons why I studied law was because I wanted to defend women, that we are going through abuse, wanting to stand up for women. That was where, that's love, that's desire, yeah, came from. So went to the university, came out, and life began to happen after marriage. Because of this, there were important events that took place in my life that I should have called my mom, or called my dad rather, but I felt he wasn't there all the while. He really didn't love us. He didn't care for us. So why should I? And my mom had gotten married to another man, and I felt this was the man I knew who had been there, who gave me the sense of hope that there were still good men outside. So why would I deprive him, of certain events in my life? Until life began to happen. For 3-4 years backward. And one day, I realized that could it be that my dad was not totally the problem? Could it be that there was more to it? That began to come to my mind. But I would jettison it and say, no. My dad was actually the bad one. until one day, some 2 years ago or so, when life began to happen to me, and it was like nobody, like my life was going to literally end before my eyes, and there was nobody to run to. There was no help, no tangible help coming from anywhere. I felt the battles coming from the people that I loved, that I care about. And usually, when you encounter battles on the outside, it is normal for you to run to the people who love you, run to your blood, run to the people who care about you. But this was not the same in my case. So I met my dad. And I think at that time was God's time for me to actually meet him. And I asked him some questions. By the time he told me his own side of the story, then I knew that it was wrong for me to have totally judged him all along and condemned him. I'm not saying he was perfect, but life happened to him, or situations happened to him, or circumstances happened to him in a way that he could not handle. That was when I realized that when it comes to the union of a man and a woman, children, especially children from broken home, should be careful, to take sides until you have been able to hear from both parties. Don't even take sides. Let me not even put it that be careful to take sides. Don't take sides at all. Relate with them the way they relate with you. Don't relate with them based on what the party A has said or what party B has said. Relate with them based on your personal relationships and encounter, based on how they treat you personally. That is the way you should relate with them. Because at the end of the day, you would realize that when party A is telling their story, except for partners that have been refined, partners that have been able to tell themselves the honest truth, this side will be saying their story in a manner that suits them or shows them as perfect. Party B will say their story in a manner that shows them or portrays them as perfect or good. But you as a child have to realize they are both dealing with each other. You are not a part of their union. You are just a product. So because the fact that you're a product does not make you a part. God just used them as channels to bring you into the world. So relate with them on a personal basis. Relate with them based on personal relationship and not what God or not what the other partner has taught you. I came to realize this about 20-something years of my life, to come to see that really things were different from the way I saw it. Maybe because now I had the capacity, I have the knowledge to process information better. That's through my personal experience. But when situations happen to you, maybe a toxic workplace, a toxic family, a toxic relationship, or circumstances that you cannot even fathom, it is important first that you ask God, what is your perspective about this? One day, I remember that I was alone and I was crying in the place of prayer. And I was telling God, this was not how I planned my life to be. I was telling God, this is not a journey that I desire. I was telling God, I am not happy with this. I heard you. I know what you said to me. And I was even at a point telling God, for making me to go through this pain, you have to compensate me. And God told me, you needed to go through this process to become what I want you to be. Neither your mother or your father has the capacity to make you become. But because of the agenda that I have for your life, there are some things that would happen to you, some processes you have to go through to become. You know, that was some form of consolation. But later on in my walk with God, I discovered that nobody gets to the top. Nobody becomes anything successful without going through a process. Your process may be palatable, it may not be palatable. But the truth is, when you understand God's perspective for your life, it would change how you see things, how you react to things. It will aid your healing process because you will now realize that this person is not the enemy. And even though they are the enemy, it gives you the grace, the capacity, the knowledge to handle the situation better. You would now be relating with such people from the place of understanding, from the place of victory, with the end picture that God has shown you in mind. In other words, you will fight from the place of rest. You could be saying, but some people are not going through this. I can assure you, there is no man or woman that is not going through one circumstance or the other in the journey of their lives. The only difference is the degree or the veracity of the battles, of the circumstance or the situations. And there are some people that some battles have been conquered ahead of time for them. So there is some form of soft landing, but it doesn't mean that they are not encountering one challenge or the other. So for that situation that you may be going through, that you are beginning to think, is this going to be the end of me? Or that you are beginning to hold your family members, your friend, your boss, or whoever it is for some situations that are happening to you or for some unpleasant circumstance. Go back into your place of prayer. Retreat and ask God, how do you see the situation? God, What is your perspective? Help me to see this situation through your lens. The moment you begin to see that situation through the lens of God, I assure you that solution will come and peace will reign and direction will be setting. So till I see you again next week or in my next lesson or episode about life, remain blessed. And I pray that the eyes of your understanding will be opened, that your eyes will be enlightened, that anyone going through one form of bondage, toxicity, pain, hurts in one way or the other, I pray that the balm of Gilead will be made available to you. And the peace of God will not just reign on your outside only, but even on the inside. Till I see you again, the peace of God be with you. Once again, like, subscribe, and bless someone with this video. Thank you.